Welcome to Dreadful Digest, where we look at your favorite horror novels and rip apart their adaptations. I'm one of your hosts, Tessa Nelson.
I am another host, Michael Estrada.
And I'm another co-host, I'm Sam.
And today is a few days after Christmas. And nothing says Christmas like what we're covering today. It has family. It has snow. We're covering The Shining today, everybody. Yay! We're looking at the horror novel written by Stephen King and also the miniseries that he produced and wrote and everything. So I know what you're thinking. Why aren't y'all looking at the case? God damn it. Okay.
We should do tongue twisters when we warm up in a circle.
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea.
Okay. Do it right now.
What's a tongue
Red leather,
twister?
yellow leather.
Red leather. What?
Red leather, yellow leather.
Red
rum.
rum.
Don't
Red
bring it. I'm going to fucking go off. I'm going to go off on that stupid shit.
Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather.
Red leather, yellow leather.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
You know
What
any?
is
Do you know
wrong
any?
with me?
You don't know any? I thought you were a theater person. What is this? Crimes.
Yeah, Emerson's my favorite theater person.
Anyway, I know what y'all are thinking. Why are we covering the miniseries and not the movie? And to that I say, be patient. We're gonna get there. This is part 1 of our 2-part series. So next episode, we're gonna look at the Stanley Kubrick film. But in this episode, we're checking out the miniseries no one asked for.
Well, Stephen King asked for it.
He asked for
Yeah,
it.
he asked us
He asked-
specifically.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah, he DM'd me.
Judy did approval.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he DM'd me. And he was like, can you guys do a podcast on The Shining? I was like, I guess. And then he called me the N-word. It was really weird. Anyway, I don't know. I was like, okay. It seemed kind of odd.
Were you guys familiar with The Shining before we decided to cover this? Any iteration.
I mean, I'll go because I know Sam wants to talk about it.
Whoa.
I mean, only like the bajillion references to it in every other form of media that exists, but I had never seen it. So I'd heard things.
Wait, really?
No.
You haven't seen any version of it?
No.
You're right. I did want to talk about this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, we've been over. I don't watch horror movies. I don't read books. So this is, it'll be rare when I've actually seen one of these or experienced any of these in its entirety. And this is also one of them. I just know references. That's it. But yeah, I was excited.
Name a reference.
Red Rum.
Great reference.
My favorite
Your
reference.
favorite part of the book and
We'll
movie.
get into that. What about you?
I actually don't remember the first time that I came across The Shining. I feel like, I don't even remember. I feel like I watched it with my dad. I definitely came across the movie first. I have no idea how many times I've seen it. I've seen it many times in many iterations. I saw it at a Sibia screening in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. That was super cool.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I see it all the time. Because the book, however, I didn't even like consider the book at all, I guess. And then one time this girl sat in front of me in college in my science class, and she was reading The Shining, and I was like, oh my God, like a book of The Shining. Actually, I'm kind of making this story up. I don't remember how this came up. But
The Shining.
she offered it to me, and I was like, yeah, totally. Like, I kind of want to read it. And then COVID hit, and I never saw her again. I still have her copy of The Shining. I don't remember her name. So if anyone went to CSUN and lost their copy of The Shining and gave it to a girl in biology, I have it. Wow. And then also in freshman year, one time I left this copy of The Shining on a candle. And so it's actually like burned up through the middle. I'm pretty sure my dear friend from biology wouldn't want her copy back, but it looks very interesting. It's all like,
is it like a hole just bored?
It's not a complete hole, but it's like charred, like this.
Sick.
Yeah. So anyway, I should have brought it. It would have been a really cool visual aid for this episode.
Great thing to bring for this
I know,
episode.
like, oh my God. The book, it's burned. But yeah, no, anyway, so then I read the book many years ago, and upon my first reading, I loved it. We can talk more about first impressions, but I was really surprised that I loved it as much as I did because I watched the movie first. Had no idea that there was a TV series until we started talking about it. But yeah, I mean, same thing with you, Michael. Obviously, it's like all over pop culture. Like my backpack in I think end of high school and college says like the Overlook Hotel on it.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like around. It's just got a chokehold on society for good
Got a
reason.
chokehold on film bros.
Oh
too.
yeah, and when we talk about Kubrick, we can talk more about that.
Yeah. When did I guess the first time I watched The Shining, yeah, it was the movie, probably in high school. I don't know if it didn't really stick in my brain.
That's
I feel
crazy.
bad.
That's crazy. We have a
Besides
range here.
Besides like the performances, wouldn't say it's my favorite Stephen King movie or book. So I guess we'll get into that
Defend
in our
yourself.
non-spoiler review.
Yeah.
But
What is your favorite?
probably Misery or The Mist.
Oh, I was gonna guess
Ooh.
Carrie.
I need to revisit Carrie. I like
We, comrade, need to revisit Carrie.
yes. I like the idea of Carrie and the adaptations.
Mhm.
I need to revisit the book though. But yeah, I can't remember the first time I had heard of The Shining. It's just it's something you just know
It
about.
lives forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just exists, and you know it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I watched the movie the first time in high school. Didn't know there was a miniseries until years later. And I had heard a lot of great things about the book, so I was very excited to jump into that.
And you loved it.
And
It's your favorite book you've ever
it's my
read?
favorite Stephen King novel. No. But to say I was disappointed is an understatement. But
That's wild.
Whoa.
See, I think it is my favorite Stephen King novel. We're gonna fight.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, it's happening.
Okay.
Well, do you guys want to jump into your non-spoiler reviews for the book
Oh,
and
sure.
the miniseries?
I can go into the book, I guess. My thoughts, spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hard disagree with Tessa here. I very much like the book. I liked it quite a bit, and your opinion is bad.
I feel like I'm being attacked right now.
You are.
This is a toxic environment. And I don't like it.
I'm channeling my inner Jack Torrance.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Can you do a Jack Torrance face?
I'm not doing it.
Can you do that?
Do what? Do what?
Do that.
So have we seen this? Is this? Did we say
It's
that
like
it's
him
visible?
looking out the window, right?
Yeah. That
He's
face
like,
is great.
It's that one
Ugh.
face that he's making that one time. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. What was I talking about? The book. I liked
Your
it.
review.
You
Yeah,
liked
I
it.
like the book a lot. I got a lot out of the book, and the more I think about it, the more I like about it. As I was reading it, listening to it, I don't read. But as I was listening to it on audiobook, I was catching myself maybe getting a little bored in the middle bits. The pacing, it's fairly long and it's a little slow, but I really liked the characters a lot. I liked Jack Torrance a lot, not like as a person, but like I like the way he's written. I like the way Wendy is written, and I like the way Danny is. I like the characters. I think there's a lot to like dig into. Yeah, that's about it for all my book. I really liked it a lot. I enjoyed it. Spoiler free. Highly
Sweet.
recommend reading it. Even if you've seen the movie, read the book. It's good.
Cool.
I mean, I'll agree with that.
Mm.
Yeah. Even if you've seen the movie, read the book.
Mm.
Because you know what it is, and this is not my review. Because I watched the movie first, I think a lot of viewers and readers will actually have a similar experience. And I know this because I went on r/The Shining. So if you do that, you will shout out because I'll tell the story after. I felt that when watching the movie, it's almost like the book is a companion piece to the Stanley Kubrick movie. The Stephen King book is a companion piece to the Stanley Kubrick movie. Not in the sense, like, because they both do stand by themselves, but it seems like there's a lot of things that are, whoa, crazy visual image. Like, what even was that? And then in the book. For example, the woman in room 217/237, I saw somebody in r/The Shining being like, who is that woman? And this user came up with this whole theory about who the woman was and like
From the movie?
Yes,
Oh,
because
that's
she
fun.
hadn't read the book. And then all the comments were like, it's interesting that you came up with this whole theory, but if you just read the book, you'll find out who she was. And
Yeah.
that's something that's never answered in the movie. So
And
that's
the dog man.
and the dog man, there's a lot more that you'll learn about in the book about the dog man that makes a lot of sense. It's like
Yeah.
they just kind of give you snippets. It's like a little preview of things that are fully fleshed out in the book. So anyway, my TV series and book review would simply be It's gonna be a one-liner. Who knew that haunted house horror could also happen in hotels? That's my piece, because that is something that struck me this time when reading and watching the show, is like, this really is a haunted house.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Which is just a very intense haunted house.
Stanley Kubrick would disagree.
Stanley Kubrick would disagree, but he's next episode, he can sit down.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Put some respect on his name.
No, I will next episode. I will put a lot of respect on his name next episode, but this episode isn't about him. The public, however, they think the public has mixed opinions about the TV show. Most people don't like the TV show.
Yeah.
The people that said, first of all, one person said, somebody definitely watched the Shining TV show and they thought it was the Kubrick one, because I saw a review on Letterboxd and it was like, definitely, except they spelled definitely defiantly, definitely Kubrick's masterpiece. 5 stars liked. And it was
That's
the TV show one. I was like, oh, wait till you see the other one. Like, wow. But most people compare it to the movie and they think that it is subpar.
On the, what was it? You looked up the DVD set on Amazon to see the whole long
Oh,
story.
yeah.
But the reviews for the DVD on Amazon were glowing. It was nothing but like, oh my God.
Really?
I'm
Well, they
so
bought it.
Yeah. I'm sure, but like they were like, no, they were talking about like the actual product. They were like, this is the real adaptation of the book that I've always wanted, and like Stanley Kubrick didn't get it, and there was a lot of like that, which I was really surprised about. Very, very.
That is
glowing
interesting.
reviews.
He got what was important.
Wait, you're saying
Who
that?
did?
Wait,
Kubrick did.
Kubrick got what was important from the
Yes.
book.
Although I will, in my
Did he?
non-spoiler review, there's some things he left out that I wish were in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you say the topiary animals?
Oh, I would love to talk about the topiary animals.
We'll get into
will.
that.
We
There's-
will.
There's
The
so much
most
to say.
important-
I know that
thing
it was
in the
your
book.
favorite part, was the topiary animals.
It's the best part.
Well, without further ado, should we? Well, first of all, your review.
Yes. So, unlike both of these two, I didn't care for the book. I felt like it was very long and there's a lot of stuff that could have been ripped out of it. Stephen King loves to just add a lot of filler. And it also felt like he had these ideas that were probably scary just to him. You know, we'll get into more of the specifics
I would
of
love
that.
to hear you break this down.
But there are some things, and I'll give a history on like how he came up with The Shining and stuff that kind of like feeds into this theory where he saw specific things in his real life and was like, ooh, that's kind of creepy, and wrote it into The Shining, but it's only creepy to him. At least it wasn't creepy to me. It
So
wasn't.
you weren't
It wasn't
scared by
scary.
the fire hose.
No,
You weren't scared by the fire hose
I
snake?
can't say that I was scared of the fire hose.
You weren't scared of the spooky animal bushes?
I can't say that I was.
You weren't
scared
scared
of,
by the animal bushes?
There was one part that I was like, okay, that's kind of cool, but
Let me ask you something. Do you get scared when you read horror novels?
I was scared when I read Misery. The first
Really?
time. The first time.
You feel like fear?
I feel
Or
like like some things will make me gasp.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
That's Wait,
What about-
seriously?
What about you?
Yeah.
No,
Do you
I'm-
get
hold on, wait.
scared?
Yeah, no, I don't. You're saying you're reading a book, something will happen, you'll go like
Yeah.
that? Literally?
It'll be shocking. I'm like, oh my God, they did that.
That's crazy. No,
That
I
is
don't-
so interesting.
I feel zero fear reading any of these.
Well, you feel zero fear watching anything.
That's not true. Well, yeah, watch these, yeah. But I felt fear watching horror movies. I just don't think Stephen King is super scary. I don't think he does a good job at scaring me.
Oh wow.
Oh,
wow.
oh.
That's on the record. That's interesting. I feel like like in extreme instances I get scared, but I would agree. I feel like though we probably should judge horror books on the merit of if they're scary, but
Yeah, we haven't. We never really talk about that.
if the book
aspect.
is actually scare
if
inducing.
what's the spookometer on this book? You know, we don't really have that.
I think
3 ghosts out of 10.
Ooh.
wow.
3 dog vans out of 10.
Yeah. Put a little graphic.
I don't know. I was just wondering though because I also didn't find the book scary, but that doesn't take away from it for me.
No.
Okay. I will say the things I really liked about the book are the characters, like you mentioned. We get more of an inside look into their fears, their insecurities, things like that we don't get in the film. Or we get a little bit in the miniseries, but that's one of the things I'll give the book credit for, is that we really get a dive into Jack, Wendy, and Danny and what they're going through and their back and forths and like their struggles and their debate on whether to leave the hotel or not. It's really interesting. And so I really liked that out of the book. We get that a little bit in the miniseries, but the acting doesn't really work for me, so the characters don't hit as hard as they do in the book. The first episode of the miniseries, I had a fun time with. And maybe because we split it, and that probably affected it. But it was fun being like, ooh, this is from the book. This is from the book. Because it's much more accurate to the book than the movie is.
Did you guys watch 1 and then 2 and 3?
Yeah.
That's what I did as well, actually. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So I really had a fun time with the first one. And then the second episode we watched, and I was like, I'm kind of bored. So I don't know if that's just the pacing or if it's because we split the watch time. But yeah, I would say the first episode is a fun time. It's hard for me to recommend, though. I don't know.
Really?
Would you guys recommend the miniseries, people? I don't know.
If you have read the book and you liked it, I would recommend the miniseries because it's fun to see. Literally, right? Stephen King's take on an adaptation. Right? He wrote it. He wrote the miniseries.
Yeah.
So if you want to see like his version of what an adaptation would look like, I would recommend it.
And what he thinks is scary, which is not
Yeah,
scary.
I mean, I think everyone would be surprised when they watch the miniseries.
Alrighty. Did you all have any final thoughts before we move on to the research segment?
No.
Okay. Cool.
No. Next question.
Let's start with the book, shall we? So The Shining is a 1977 horror novel, debatable, written by Stephen King.
Insane take.
It is King's third published novel and his first hardcover bestseller. Its success firmly established King as a what is that word?
Preeminent.
Preeminent.
I thought you were going to say person, and I was like, that's crazy.
Oh my God.
As the president of
tried.
the United States.
Its success firmly established King as a preeminent author in the horror genre. Yay! So, The Shining was influenced by King's stay at the Stanley Hotel and also his struggles with alcoholism. While at the Stanley Hotel, he and his wife were the only guests staying at the hotel. So, like, even when they would have dinner, they'd have all the other tables with the chairs on them, except their table.
Oh,
Isn't that creepy?
that is weird.
That's weird. I don't like that. He was served by a bartender named Grady, and he also had a dream that his son was chased by a fire hose.
Whoa.
So very much influenced how he wrote the book. There's
Stephen King has a son? Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't even.
yeah, he has a couple kids.
He does? Oh.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
So
pretty sure
which
he also
son
has a
did
daughter.
he dream?
I don't know which son was alive at that point. I don't remember if I actually wrote it down. But he also was influenced by his sometimes anger and frustration towards his kids, which is fascinating and also scary. Just like these, I guess, intrusive thoughts that he would get. So I think Jack Torrance is very much a stand-in for what he was going through at the time. The Shining also has a sequel called Dr. Sleep, which was made into a movie, which we will cover in the future at some point. After Carrie and Salem's Lot, which were his first two novels and The Shining came after, both of those movies were set in Maine, and for The Shining, King wanted a different location. He opened an atlas of the U.S. on his kitchen table and randomly pointed to a location, which turned out to be Boulder, Colorado, which is where The Shining takes place, and is also in the Renee Rapp song, Colorado. Anyway.
Renee Rapp, Stephen King.
Stephen King was also influenced by The Haunting of Hill House and The Fall of the House of Usher, which, fun fact, Mike Flanagan, who directed Dr. Sleep, also ended up adapting these books.
Whoa.
Stephen King, Mike Flanagan.
But like actually, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's sick, actually. I don't
It makes a
remember.
lot
I
of
don't
sense
know.
though with the ghosts.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I didn't know that The Haunting of Hill House was before The Shining. I didn't know it was that old.
Well, Shirley Jackson.
Yeah, the book is old. And there's
I don't know
there's
who that
movie
is.
adaptations.
You need to look into this right now
Okay.
before we proceed. Continue, Tessa.
Reads the whole wiki about Shirley Jackson.
Reads the book.
So his editor tried to talk him out of writing The Shining because he thought that after writing Carrie and Salem's Lot, he would get typed as a horror writer. But King considered that a compliment. Which is interesting because with Misery, he wanted to, it was like him trying to break out of horror or like his commentary on that. So I guess at that point he was over being a horror writer or wanted to like switch it up a little bit. I don't know. Interesting to see his thought process, but it makes sense. The Shining was also made into an opera and is currently being made into a stage play.
Oh.
Yeah. The opera soundtrack is on Spotify. I was going to listen to it, and then I remembered I don't like operas. So I feel like I couldn't be a good judge of that because the whole thing is just singing. So if you're into that, check it out.
You don't like operas?
No, I don't like that style of music. So I was like, I can't judge if this is good or not because I just don't like that style of music. So it's out there, though, if y'all want to check it out. So that's what I have for the book. Are y'all ready for some history on the miniseries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. So, moving on to a little bit of research for the miniseries. This is a 1997 3-episode miniseries directed by Mick Garris. Garris also directed multiple King adaptations, including the 94 version of The Stand, and he also has a story credit and co-wrote Hocus Pocus and Batteries Not Included. That was Sibia. I was like, I don't remember writing
Wait,
that.
Hocus Pocus?
I guess, yeah.
That's the movie my dad's in.
Huh?
What?
Yeah. I'm so serious. He's in the, you know when I'd love to tell this story and now I can put it on the internet. So,
Yeah.
you know the scene with the parents when they're like partying?
I haven't seen Hocus Pocus.
You've seen it.
I don't remind me what Hocus Pocus is. I might have seen it.
Okay, it's the Disney movie. It's like a Halloween movie. It's a kids movie. There's these 3 witches. One of them is Bette Midler.
Yes.
You've seen it.
I have seen it, but I don't remember much about it.
Okay, so there's this scene where the parents go to a party and they're dancing and then they get cursed to dance until they die. And that's like the bit for that scene is that like, oh, they're dancing forever. So my dad is in the band that's playing in that scene.
What?
He's the pianist.
That's
Yeah.
sick as hell.
And he has like an opening shot where his hand like goes down the keyboard.
Oh.
And that, yeah. So everybody watch Hocus
Wow.
Pocus. That's Ed Smart.
Wow.
So apparently, who's the director?
Mick Garris.
Mick Garris co-wrote this movie. I'm going to talk to my father about this.
Whoa.
I'll speak
I want to
with
know
my
if he
father.
met with him.
Probably
Like,
not. My dad was an extra. Respectfully,
Yeah.
father.
I wish he would have
Respectfully,
been
father.
able to talk to him about this miniseries. That would have been.
Yeah.
Why would that ever happen? But in my dream world, that would happen.
Yeah.
So the miniseries is written and produced by King himself. This-
What? Sorry.
Surprising, I know.
So loud.
Shocking.
That's the enthusiasm I want for everything I say.
Hold on, do it again. We'll do the second take.
Written and produced by King.
No fucking way!
The project of
Continue.
readapting the novel stems from King's dissatisfaction with the Kubrick version. It follows the novel more faithfully, King said in an interview, "I don't look at this as a remake of the movie. I look at this as doing the book. Stanley Kubrick made Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I'm making Stephen King's The Shining." So there you have it. That's one of the most infamous things about The Shining is that King doesn't like the Stanley Kubrick version, and we'll definitely get into why in that episode. So this version was shot at the Stanley Hotel, which was the inspo for the novel. Interestingly enough, the Stanley Hotel was in a snow shadow, which means it had the least amount of snow out of all the Denver areas at the time. As a result, they had to spend $100,000 in snowmaking machines to give it its snowy flair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, how much money did you say?
100,000.
Jesus, actually, that's a lot of money to make snow.
I feel like they could have done something else.
Like what?
I feel like they
Paint
could
the
have
floor
made.
white.
Well, I think they could have made fake snow, right? No.
I don't know.
Like out of asbestos?
Yeah. No, there's other ways to make fake snow. I'm pretty sure. I don't work in art, so I wouldn't be able to say that. But I feel like economic. Whatever. Let's just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's critique this one thing about the show. The budget.
It is $100,000.
It's a lot of money.
So the Stanley Hotel was adorned with topiary animals for this film, just like in Stephen King's original novel. Years later, however, a hedge maze was added, just like in Kubrick's film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can
IRL?
check him out.
There's a hedge maze?
Yeah. I really want to go to this hotel. Like,
Oh.
We should.
really
Special
badly.
episode.
Really badly. I want to see those topiary animals, those disappointing topiary animals. I want to see the hedge
Disappointing.
maze. I want to see it all.
It's funny that you say that that was actually the hotel that it was like based on. I think you can tell.
Yeah?
We can talk more about it later, though.
Okay.
And we might
We
talk
might
more about it.
Okay. Looking forward to it.
or not. Continue.
So there are multiple cameos in this miniseries. King himself makes a cameo as the orchestra conductor. Did either of you notice
What?
that?
I
didn't notice it.
but
I
that
did
makes
not.
so much sense.
Okay.
He Stan lead it? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Sam Raimi also was in this as the gas station attendant.
Oh,
Yeah.
the guy
Wow.
that Halloran gets his like snowmobile from? Is that?
I don't know. I didn't notice.
You didn't notice Sam Raimi?
Didn't. But I did notice this one.
I'm gonna be real. I don't know what Sam Raimi looks like. So
Yeah, same. So I couldn't point it out.
do you know what he looks like?
Why'd you ask me that? No.
Oh, okay.
You're a film bro. I just,
You sounded-
I
You
don't
sounded
know
a
what
bit-
everybody looks like.
You
just
sounded a bit taken aback.
assumed.
We're like, you didn't recognize Sam Raimi, and I
I
was
don't know. Maybe you
Do
text
know what he
him
looks
on
like?
the
No,
Yuge?
no, I meant like you didn't notice him, like you don't remember the scene.
Oh,
You remember the scene. Do you remember the scene? Neither of you remember this scene with a
It's
human
been a
being.
week since we watched this.
This is cruel.
sorry.
And was it in the second episode?
No, it was in the third episode, right?
If it's the theme, if it's the
What?
scene I'm thinking of.
Are you thinking of
It's the Theed from
Yeah.
the Lorax.
Oh, so you're gonna make fun of me for misspeaking?
I never misspeak. Everything I say is perfect.
No one's gonna notice the 17 cuts when Tessa tries to do this. Anyway, shout out Sam Raimi.
Yay. And this cameo I did notice. So Shawnee Smith, aka Amanda from Saw, is a
Oh.
waitress in the movie. She
Oh.
takes
Yes,
Halloran's
Halloran.
order.
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff. So this miniseries originally aired on ABC. It received favorable reception at the time and won 2 Primetime Emmys and 2 Saturn Awards. Obviously that reception did not stay.
Really?
Just little birdie told me. The casting team had a very difficult time finding an actor for the role of Jack Torrance, as most of the considerations who rejected the role worried about being compared to Nicholson.
Fair concern.
Very fair. Tough role to fill. So Stephen Weber was eventually cast upon the recommendation of Rebecca De Mornay. Mornay?
Yeah.
She
You're-
plays Wendy.
Sure.
Am
Yeah.
I saying the last
Oh.
name right?
Yeah.
Okay. Rebecca
Maybe.
De
We don't know
Mornay.
her.
Sure.
He signed on 4 days before filming started, and years later, he would go on to narrate the audiobook for It.
Oh, fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cast and crew claimed supernatural experiences happened during shooting.
Of course.
Yeah.
What?
have
Like
to.
what?
And I believe them.
It was tough for Weber to play his character because the scenes were not shot in chronological order, like the Kubrick film.
Well,
It
that's
was-
just filming.
That's just
Yeah.
filming.
That's just how it works.
Yeah.
Whatever. Sorry.
Anyway, it was very difficult for him to master the character's mental deterioration. Stephen King did all of the still photographs. Oh, I don't know why I added this to that note. Anyway, second note, Stephen King did all of the still photographs that are seen in the scrapbook in the basement.
Wow.
How did you like those facts I accidentally combined?
Yeah, that was really cool.
Last one. Okay. The makeup team won an Emmy for their work. To get the look of the woman in the bathtub, they used several layers of saran wrap and latex crumpled up to look like rotting skin.
Wow.
It looked good.
It looked really
yes,
good.
I so
like the
agree.
special effects.
Deserved. I think, yeah.
Okay. IMDb trivia time.
Whoa.
Yay.
Ah!
I like this fact. So Kubrick owned the rights to the 1980 adaptation. So in order for King to get the right to readapt his own book into the miniseries, Kubrick required that he signed a legally binding contract that forced King to no longer be able to bring up his frequent criticism of Kubrick's film, except for the sole commentary that he was disappointed with Jack Nicholson's portrayal of Jack Torrance. He was allowed to comment on that, but
Wow.
anything else, he had to stop.
It's funny you say that because I'm pretty sure I saw a clip of him older saying that he actually like changed his mind and doesn't have an issue with The Shining, but I had no idea that he contractually is
Yeah.
obligated to say that.
He had to get his rights back, essentially, which is interesting from Kubrick.
That's so petty.
Yeah. From Kubrick?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
get down and praise me, King.
Literally, like, stop telling people you don't like my movie.
Yeah.
Say you like my movie. Say it.
Anyway, did you have some reviews for us to listen to?
Oh, yes. This one from Liam F. says,
Shout out.
on October 6, 2022, of the miniseries, this is also a 1-star review.
Ooh.
You know it's bad when the only improvement on the Kubrick version is the lack of the N-word. We've also got from Karen Lizen with 2 N's on December 21st, 2023. 5 stars, liked the miniseries, said 100 times better than the movie.
Oh, wow.
Very polarized.
Yes. I mean,
That
actually,
was 5 stars?
yes, that was 5 stars.
Wow.
And then a 1/2 star from Matthew L. Brady.
A half star.
That is
You
the
can
lowest
do
you can.
that?
Yes,
Oh,
without
shit.
not rating, that's the lowest you can do on Letterboxd.
Wow.
Matthew L. Brady on October 28th, 2020 said, I can see why Stanley Kubrick said no to Stephen King's script because this was awful.
I don't think anything deserves a 1/2 star. That's crazy.
We did
That's-
watch Borderlands recently.
Not even that. Not even that.
It's divided. It's a house divided. A lot of people seem to not like it. A lot of people seem to like it. So we have much to discuss here.
Well, before we jump into it, Michael, do you have a synopsis for us?
I do have a synopsis. Hold on, let me get my notes out. It's a bit long. I'll try to get through it fast. It's a long book.
Mm-hmm. Very long.
And also I am sick, so I'll
It's
try to do
almost
this.
like
Excuses.
several chapters could have been removed.
You need to relax. Okay. Here's a synopsis for the book. This is for the book. Quick summary. Probably not so quick. It'll be like a couple minutes. All right. Anyways, Jack Torrance is going to take his family on a fun Christmas vacation to a hotel. Woohoo!
Yay.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Jack recently lost his job, due to a mishap that could have happened to anybody. So he's got a new job and he's taking his wife, Wendy, and his son, Danny, to the Overlook Hotel. He's going to be the caretaker for the winter while the hotel is closed down. And, Jack, he's a great guy. He's a really great dad. He loves his family. He's a good dude. And sure, maybe he broke his son's arm in a drunken rage, but that was the alcohol, not him, okay? And sure, while he got sober, he maybe lost his job because he beat up a high schooler so bad he gave him brain damage. That could happen to anybody. That
Normal
was his
behavior.
temper, not him. He's a good man, okay? And none of this stuff is like red flags due to a traumatic history with his father that he needs to address. You don't need to worry about that stuff. Just push that all down. So long as you ignore your past and you pretend that it doesn't affect you, it can't hurt you, okay?
Therapy didn't exist at the time.
No, therapy wasn't real, and it still isn't. Just push it down. Just push it all down. That's the message of this book. Anyways, even though Jack is a perfectly well-adjusted father and a normal adult, his son is a bit of an oddball. He can read people's minds, and sometimes you can see the future. Ooh. And Dick Halloran, the chef at the hotel, tells Danny this ability is called shining. Whoa, roll credits. That's the name of the book. And Dick Halloran tells Danny that he's met a few people that can shine, but no one that can shine quite as bright as Danny. He's an impressive kid. And because of this, Halloran is a bit worried for Danny because when you shine, you not only see glimpses of the future, but you can see echoes of the past, otherwise known as ghosts. Ooh. But Halloran thinks it'll be okay, and he assures Danny that, you know what? So long as you pretend, so long as you ignore the past and you pretend it doesn't affect you, it can't hurt you, just like his dad, and you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Halloran heads off to Florida for his winter vacation, I guess.
I like you've stopped reading from your
Oh, yeah.
notes.
I'm sorry.
You're just
I just use it as
ripping.
reference sometimes.
Okay.
I got it mostly memorized.
He's a professional.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, sorry. But before he leaves, he tells Danny that you can call him on his mind phone if you need help while he's in Florida, and he leaves for Florida.
That is exactly verbatim
Yeah.
what he says in the book.
They have telepathy for some reason. Also, shining
like that.
there's varied powers. Okay, you can read minds, you have telepathy, you can talk to other people. There's a lot of stuff. Anyways, Halloran leaves, and then the Overlook closes down for the winter. And hold on, wait a second, my bad. Hold on, there's something on the floor here. Oh, it's it looks like Chekhov left his gun laying around. On the barrel, it says that Jack Torrance has to check the boiler in the basement every few hours. Otherwise, the whole hotel will explode. I don't know. That might come up later. I'll just put that. All right. Probably not important. All right. Anyways, so the Overlook Hotel closes down for the winter and the Torrances are there alone. Whoa, until spring. Woo-hoo. And then a lot of, spooks and scares happen. I'm going to skip all that. And then a spooky ghost that lives in a bathtub chokes Danny and leaves bruises on his neck. And Wendy, Jack's wife and Danny's mom, decides it's time to skedaddle. It's time to get out of here. But by this point, Jack has already had his mind started to be controlled by the Overlook Hotel. The hotel has started to sink its claws into Jack. And Jack sabotages any way for them to get out of the hotel, because at this point, it's been a few months by that point.
Yeah.
And they're snowed in, so they can't leave. So Jack sabotages the radio and the snowmobile, and they can't escape. And then Jack starts just having a great old time. He starts partying with ghosts. He gets drunk off of ghost martinis. It's awesome. But when Jack gets drunk, things start to go bad. And he tries to strangle Wendy, but they manage to overpower him. Wendy and Danny manage to overpower him, knock him out, and lock him in a pantry for like a day and a half or something. It was like a while.
No,
Is
it's
it?
not a day and a half.
It's a long time.
No, it isn't.
It's like a day.
It's a few hours, I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't think
No.
it's a day.
It's
Because the whole time,
read it and check for yourself.
I swear, the whole time he's locked in the pantry, like half the time it takes Halloran to like get to there. That's when it keeps cutting back and
Yeah,
forth.
but Halloran's in a car, isn't he?
He's in like, he gets to a plane and then he flies
There's
to
several
Colorado.
chapters that explain
Yes.
his entire journey.
That's true.
Anyways, Jack is locked in a pantry for a significant amount of time, and I'm sure that time will become relevant later that he's locked in. Oh, what's that? I kicked the gun again. I'm sure that's not important. All right, and then so he's locked in the pantry for a significant amount of time. And then the ghost just let him out of the pantry. And Jack is a little bit upset about being locked in this dang old pantry. And so he decides it's time to teach his family a lesson and get back at him for trying to ruin this good caretaker job he has. And so he grabs a roque mallet. It's like croquet, but fancier and older. And he grabs a roque mallet and he starts going to town on Wendy Torrance, poor old Wendy Torrance. But before Jack can land the final blow, Halloran shows up. Oh my God. Danny called him a couple chapters ago, but I didn't mention it because this is a synopsis.
On the mind phone.
Yeah, on the mind phone. He calls him on the mind phone. Halloran shows up to save the day. Psych, he gets beat up by bushes and then he gets hit in the head with a hammer. He doesn't save the day. Nice try, Halloran. But now it's up to Danny. It's all up to him, the hotel's real target. And Danny manages to use the power of friendship to stall Jack Torrance, his father, long enough for the hotel to forget about Chekhov's gun, and it goes off. Jack Torrance tries to stop the hotel from exploding, but he's too late. Danny manages to wake up Halloran from his beating and get his mom and escape just in the nick of time, and the hotel explodes, and they ride off on a snowmobile happily ever after, except that his dad died. The
Yeah, it
end.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, they get life insurance when he dies.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So thank you for that lovely synopsis.
Hey, no problem. I love doing them.
Are y'all ready for our book versus series segment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I am.
Okay. I split them up by episodes. So let's start with
cool.
the first episode. Each episode is an hour and a half.
Yeah, they're long.
They're long. So if you plan on binging them all, good luck.
Good luck binging them at all, because where are you going to get it?
Yeah, it's
True.
really hard to
True.
find.
You can actually, the only way I think the general public could probably access this through non-illegal methods, if it's not at your library, is ordering on Amazon. I think that's the only place that carries it.
Yeah.
It's real expensive though.
There
It's like
was a
$10.
$7 film that had the It miniseries, The
that's
Shining,
right.
and then something else.
Yeah.
So
You're
that
right.
one is an option.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
check out your local library.
Yeah, do that first, but it was not at mine, so
Mm.
good luck.
All right, episode 1. The first episode starts with Watson showing Jack the boiler. It also shows Mrs. Massey's suicide. So, unlike the novel, which starts out with the Ullman interview, it skips that interview in a bit and just jumps into Watson showing Jack around. There's a long tour. We get a long tour in
It's
that
a
first
very long
episode.
tour.
Also, during that time, Watson explains the Grady story. Do you remember? It was different than the book.
Mm-hmm.
In the miniseries, he doesn't have a family.
Yeah, he just kills himself.
Yeah.
Which
To clarify,
is, no Grady twins. No Grady twins.
Grady was the last caretaker before Jack, and in the book, he kills his whole family and then kills himself. And they were like, "Oh, that kind of sucks, but I'm sure you'll be fine, Jack." And then they just let him have the caretaker.
In the book, it's because Grady was an alcoholic, right? And then that's the reason that Ullman has reservations about Jack. Is he's like, I didn't want to hire you because of your history, but because you're reformed and because your friend said you're cool, like, I guess we can do this. But if it were up to me, since our last caretaker was an alcoholic and killed himself, we would not hire another alcoholic.
His friend of fellow alcoholics.
Yeah.
No, literally, his circle of alcoholics. It is weird how all of his friends are out. Well, maybe it's not weird.
No, it's probably not that
That's
weird.
actually probably very
Makes
normal.
sense,
Yeah.
So that's how the miniseries is different. Right off the bat, we just jump into Jack looking at the boilers. We also see Mrs. Massey's suicide. She uses what's it called? A razor blade, razor blade, which comes in later.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Massey is the bathtub ghost.
Room
Yes,
217.
she's the bathtub ghost. In the book, it's explained that like she had this young lover who left, and then she ended up killing
Yeah,
herself.
there's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was implied that she was seeking service from this young man.
Yes.
And then when he was soliciting others, she was brokenhearted by this. Wasn't that kind of the implication?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I guess you could read it like that.
And then when he like was not, he left. Also, she was married.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. Basically, a lot of the ghosts have actual backstory in the book, which is different from. They kind of explain things a little bit in this miniseries, a bit more than the movie, but the movie, unless you've read the book, you probably won't know about any of these characters. So that's interesting that how the miniseries just jumps into it, which is kind of cool. Did you guys miss out on the Ullman interview? Like, I feel like,
Well, it's funny. Like, I mean, I know this isn't our movie episode, but I do like the Ullman interview in the movie.
Okay.
I don't have an opinion on it. I mean, it's a vehicle in the novel for us to learn a lot. I'm pretty sure it's through Ullman's interview that we find out about his friend. We get an intro to his teaching career. We learn more about it later, but we learn it does a lot of characterization work, which makes sense as a narrative technique because it's like, obviously we're meeting this character and so is Ullman. Makes sense. However, I think they were able to get enough across in the miniseries that it wasn't necessary. They do a lot of creative techniques to show backstory, I thought, that they don't employ in the movie and that are done through the characters' minds in the book. So,
Yeah.
I didn't miss it in the context.
And we do get a little bit of Ullman after Watson shows him around. Ullman shows him the Roque Court, which we get to see in action, which is fun.
It is.
People are at the hotel actually doing things, which we don't. Sorry, I'm going to be comparing it to the movie a lot. It's hard. It's hard not to.
That's the thing. It's kind of a trifecta because this is what I was trying to talk about earlier. It's like none of them really exist. I mean, I guess the miniseries can be its own independent thing, but like I don't feel like the movie could exist without the book necessarily. But then like the movie does very creative things the book doesn't do. It's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to not mention the movie.
Yeah. So we get a little bit of Ullman. We get to see his reluctance to hire Jack in that short dialogue that they have, which, makes things quick jump. What am I trying to say? Makes things happen quickly.
Yes.
Which for a miniseries, where you don't have as much time as a book, it works effectively. So, interestingly, in the miniseries, Jack actually knows about Henry Derwent from the beginning. He had heard of him previously and is interested about the hotel from the jump. Unlike in the book, he learns about Henry Derwent while reading in a scrapbook and reading newspapers.
Is it Henry? I thought it was Horace.
We had this conversation.
Oh, right. Was it Horace?
It's both.
It's both. Okay,
Yeah.
Henry's his...
Apparently
Short.
Henry is like short.
Henry's short for Horace?
Apparently, because they call him both. We like looked it up on Wikipedia.
They call him both in the miniseries?
Yeah. It's
Oh.
written down as Horace sometimes, like
Yeah.
on paperwork, but they'll say Henry sometimes.
Oh.
I guess it's like a nickname
The more
for
you know.
Horace Derwent. But yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
didn't know that.
Henry Derwent, for those who haven't read the book, he was a previous owner of the Overlook. So a lot of crazy things happened under his watch. Crazy parties happened. We see him in person later on in the miniseries, his ghost version. But Jack seems to know about this dude at the very beginning instead of learning about him.
I actually don't remember that. When is that? Did he talk to Ullman about it?
I think,
Yeah.
well, he asks, or Watson, I'm pretty sure. He's like, didn't Horace used to own, he doesn't say his first name. He's like, doesn't Horace Derwent, didn't he used to be an owner? Doesn't he say something like, he like
okay.
asks about it, right?
Yeah. It's either Watson or Ullman that he brings it up to.
That's not a real guy, right? That's a fake guy.
Horace Derwent?
Yeah, Henry Derwent.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he's like famous in the world of the
They can make
Shining.
fictional characters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
no.
had like
Yeah,
casinos.
but they name like real people sometimes. And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
You
they
mean,
name
like, presidents?
presidents.
Yeah.
Yeah, jinx. Alrighty. So this was something that you noticed, Michael, about the George Hatfield situation. So, according to the miniseries, this happened only 5 months prior to Jack being hired at the Overlook. Meanwhile, in the book, it happened years prior? Question mark. It seemed like it happened longer than 5 months ago.
It does seem that way, but timeline-wise, if he was, how long could he possibly be out of a job before he needed to get a new one?
No, you're. I think you're mixing things up. The George Hatfield is his name, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the student he beats up. He
Mhm.
beats the hell out of. That does happen close to when he gets the job. It's that the miniseries moves things around and has Danny's arm break
Oh,
take place after he beats up George
Yeah.
Hatfield.
Right, yes.
That was the weird decision to like move those around. Because in the book, that happens to Danny when he's like
very young.
like a toddler.
Yeah.
And then he gets sober, and then a few years later, that's when he beats up George Hatfield.
I don't think he does get sober.
He does.
He gets sober. No, but he's still an alcoholic. That's why when he's driving around, this is the other thing. They leave out the whole kid and the bicycle.
Yeah, that thing is gone.
Which I actually
Should we explain that part?
I think we should, because I honestly thought that was one of the most impactful stories of the book. The fact that like haunts him and comes up later is crazy. The guy who recommends Jack for the job at the Overlook, who's on the board of trustees, is a fellow alcoholic who also worked at the school. And they went on a bender one night, and when they were both super intoxicated, they were driving, and then they see something in the road. It's like a kid's bicycle, and they ram into it, and Jack is sure they hit a kid. And so they come out, and they're like freaking out, and they're like, oh my God, like, are we going to call the police? Or like, and then, his friend is like, I don't see a kid. Do you see a kid? And Jack is like, no, but why would there be a bike in the middle of the road without a kid?
Yeah.
And his friend's like, well, I don't see a kid, so let's just move on. But Jack is sure that they did kill a kid on that bender. And that's also, I'm pretty sure, one of the reasons why he decides to sober up, isn't it?
Yes.
Or for both of them.
That happens a little after the thing with Danny breaks his arm. It happens, I want to say like the next, is it not the next
I'm
day?
pretty sure he goes on a bender like because of it.
Yeah, it's like very soon after he breaks Danny's arm, that happens.
So yeah, and that situation comes up later.
Yeah, he sobers up after that. That's the thing that like fully scares him.
So
Which
that's
sucks
secret.
that not his breaking his son's arm snaps him out of it.
Yeah.
It's the next thing.
It's when he thinks he murdered a child.
Yeah.
And that secret, I think, kind of like prized both him and the guy who, what's his name? Is it Alan?
Al.
Oh, yeah.
So
Al
he and
Shockley?
Al
Yeah.
Shockley have this kind of shared bond because they were both involved in this incident. They're both on the wagon, and that's why Al recommends him for the job at the Overlook.
Yes.
Because he's like, I believe in you. Like, we have this shared kind of bond over this secret that we have.
Yeah, but so after he thinks he ran over a kid, he may or may not have. It's never revealed. But
We'll never know.
Yeah, it's just described as like weird that a bike was in the middle of the road. Nobody technically saw a kid, but it's just like, I swear they were both
But
like,
Danny
I swear.
knows.
Oh yeah.
He saw it in a dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's never revealed to us whether or not he did, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
He gets sober and then continues teaching, and then a few years later, beats up a high school kid for slashing his tires. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that happens to that high school kid.
Well, the kid has a stutter.
Yes.
And he gets cut from the debate team.
Yes.
So the kid slashes his tires. Jack catches him in the act and then beats him up.
Yeah,
so
beats up
bad.
the kid. Really bad. While he's sober. This is after he's not
This is while he's
drinking anymore.
sober.
Which I like that version a little more because in the show, he gets sober, then beats up George Hatfield, and then starts drinking again because of that, and then breaks Danny's arm.
I thought he was drinking and then did the Hatfield situation.
I do think he was still off the wagon. I'm pretty sure the bender is the thing that makes him like wake up.
Well, I mean, in the miniseries,
Oh,
I thought that was one of the things you said was like he was so sober in the book when he did that, but not in the miniseries. And you liked the fact that he was sober when he did it more because it shows like that's kind of his human nature, his inner turmoil that he's dealing
you're right.
with.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think he was still drinking the miniseries when he beat up George Hatfield,
Which makes him more of a sympathetic character. But in the book, what's so interesting about Jack is that he keeps blaming his temper that only happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
He keeps blaming the temper, the alcohol, and he starts realizing through the course of the story that, oh, maybe this is just who I am. And this isn't just something that I can push down.
Yeah.
And that's a really interesting thing about Jack Torrance that we don't get in any filmed version as
It's true.
much. And that's only something you can get in the book.
Well, it plays into the whole theme of family also, because in the book we get the backstory of his father and how his father physically abused his mother and like how that affected Jack, and then now he's physically abusing his son
And
like
his wife.
and his wife, and
Yeah.
this like kind of genetic like violence that he was exposed to when he was a kid that then carries over into his own family is explored very thoroughly in the book.
Yes.
And touched on in the miniseries.
It is my favorite thing in the book, and it is not seemingly the focus of any of the adaptations, which is bizarre because I feel like it's the most impactful part of the book.
Mhm.
It kind of seems like it's what the book is about.
Yes, that's how it read to me. I was like, oh, I get it. This is the main focus, and then
Yeah.
no other version really focuses
It's about how
on
violence is passed down.
Yes.
And then
Mhm.
obviously it's not in the movie, and it's not. We get a teensy bit of his father.
That. Mm.
Yeah,
But I'm
through
getting
the
ahead of
radio,
myself.
Yeah. Moving away from Jack Torrance, let's talk about Tony a little bit because
Tony.
Tony didn't mention Tony in the synopsis.
he is Danny's thing that talks to him.
This is a great, like, okay. This, I fully did not understand what Tony was when I watched the movie for the first time. I read the book.
Oh yeah,
I was like, what is Tony?
He's
This
just
child
a-
is scary.
He moves his finger and that's Tony.
That's the movie. We'll
Yeah.
get to the movie. But in the book, Tony is him.
Yeah.
We find this out at the end of the book, but
spoilers.
it's Tony is him in the future talking to him. And so my interpretation of this is that it's just his shining personified, because as a kid he doesn't really know how to interpret it. So he sees his future self talking to him as a way to explain how he sees the future.
I like that because nobody
but-
else has a Tony. that
Nobody-
has a
exactly.
Shining. Yeah,
No, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dick doesn't have a Tony.
No.
Tony is just because Danny's 5 and Danny doesn't understand how he can see what's going on. So Tony sort of is an imaginary friend. Sort of. That's
Yeah.
how I understood it. Tony in the miniseries, I think, is very literal to how he's portrayed in the book. Tony is literally himself when he's older. He's floating in the street. He's
Just
floating
a
next to a sign.
floating
He's like,
teenager.
look at this. Look at this, Danny.
So weird. I hate it.
It's very interesting. And I was wondering, like, how are they going to show who Tony is? They do. We'll get to it when we get to the end.
Yes.
Because in the book they just say like, oh, Tony is older Danny telling him what's going on.
Mm.
But
Yeah, but in the
It's a little
miniseries,
different
if
in
you
the
don't know
miniseries.
that, yeah, he's just a guy.
yeah, he just appears. He's just a guy who's
yeah,
floating in the
He's
sky.
just a floating guy. He's
and Danny's like,
Danny,
hi, Tony. And Tony's like, hi, Danny.
Danny, watch out! There's just some guy, just literally always floating.
Yeah.
Danny, look out, dude.
Well, what's interesting is that at the beginning of the book, we know that Tony is some sort of figure. He's always kind of like off in the distance.
He's at the
He's
peripheral,
not
right?
described as much.
Yeah.
But in the miniseries, we see him from the jump. He's just a teenager, just floating in the sky.
He's got glasses.
Yeah, it's just Danny's
He's
homie.
hanging out.
So bizarre.
Just chilling.
He's Tony.
Yeah,
He's Tony.
Little Tony.
Another difference between the book and the miniseries is that Jack calls out Shockley pretty early on.
It's like immediately.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as he
Yeah.
gets home.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I feel like it takes a while before that actually happens. He has to go into town, first of all, to call him. He has that whole thing where he's getting the drugs too.
Well, he does that in the book as well. He takes Danny out of the house to call Al because he doesn't want Wendy to see him calling.
Yeah, but that's like later in the book. But it happens like pretty early on in the miniseries.
Oh, yeah.
Guess
Sorry. Yeah.
The difference that I found, but
Yeah.
it's really minor. And that's the only time we see Al Shockley or really hear of him in the miniseries. He
Yeah.
doesn't pop up later on.
It's very minor.
Yeah. This was interesting. the Jack Torrance of the miniseries goes to AA, which
Yes.
doesn't
Yeah.
happen in the book at all.
Yes,
and
he's
that might be. Oh, sorry.
attendant. He's an active meeting attendant.
Yeah. And that might be another way to make him seem more sympathetic of a character, probably, because he's trying to like fix this problem.
You
Unlike in
actually
the book,
see him at the meetings, and he's like trying to go to the meetings.
yeah,
Yeah.
The book, he just quits.
In the book, he's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah,
to
don't
someone
worry.
who goes cold turkey?
I don't need help from other people. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's like
Nothing
the
could
theme
go
of Jack in
wrong.
the book.
Yeah, pretty much.
It'll be okay.
This isn't a difference. But I loved in the miniseries that they kept the mini hotel. I totally forgot that was mentioned in the book.
You
Yeah.
wrote that down.
I did. I was like, that's so cute.
It has don't ever mess with me or my son again. Like,
Yeah.
it's like,
It's so cute.
I wonder if that was really at the real hotel.
We
or if
need
that
to
was
go.
just a prop made.
we should go.
We need to go.
Pod trip.
So Danny has superpowers in the miniseries. He can like break
Oh.
things with his mind.
Yes.
Yes, Shining is a little more liberal.
Yeah.
A little more conservative in the book.
Yeah, Danny's really pro-gun. In the
So yeah, he uses his superpowers to break Halloran's window, or not window, his mirror.
the light,
It's
I thought.
it's
Or the
his
lights.
tail light on his
God.
car.
He does other stuff with it too. What else does
Well, I
he
don't-
break?
I will say, I don't think he meant to do that.
No.
But didn't he mean it? It's been a week since we watched this, so I'm trying to remember.
No, because in the book, it's just like telepathy.
It's
and
so powerful that he gets like a
Yeah.
nosebleed, right?
yes. Yeah.
And then in the movie, they have him break his light. But I thought it was just because it was such powerful energy that happened.
yeah, it never manifests physically in the book.
Right.
In the book, it's always like psychic damage. He'll like say something really loud in Halloran's head, and Halloran will like seize up and start bleeding out of his nose.
Yeah.
But in the miniseries, it like physically, there's like a shock wave that happens sometimes when he uses his
Right.
powers, and like a light bulb explodes.
On the
Which
energy field.
They set up for a later plot point, because later Jack blames the radio getting broken on Danny.
That's right. Yeah.
And so then there's actually like a credible reason for him to blame it on Danny, because he's like, remember that time when he was a kid when he like blew up a plate or something? I don't know what he says some shit like that.
Just like Harry Potter.
And it's like, oh, they like changed that little bit
Yeah.
so that way it can be a plot
Yeah.
point later for Jack to blame the radio on Danny. I don't know why you would change. I don't know. It's like a very minor change.
Yeah.
I don't know why Stephen King thought to add that. It doesn't really change any of the outcome or really anything.
Basically, just to blame Danny for future stuff.
Yeah, I guess just to keep the drama between the two like going for a little, to keep the plausible deniability for Jack
Yeah.
for a little bit longer, like
Yeah.
the drama of figuring out that he's like possessed or whatever. I don't know, but a little minor change.
Speaking of another minor change, Watson shows them around the kitchen instead of Halloran. I feel like Halloran doesn't have much to do besides talk to Danny in the first episode.
It's
at least.
true.
He's not showing them his workspace.
The kitchen and stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Interesting.
correct. Odd decision, I'd say. I think it makes more sense for Halloran to do it.
And Watson is also, his characterization is kind of different. He's basically there just for some exposition. But in the book, he's just like not a good guy.
Watson, he's just a hater.
He's just
Yeah,
a
he's a
hater.
full-blown
He's an
hater.
Ullman hater.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, I hate my boss.
Yeah.
And like, wow.
In
And
the
he's
sh-
saying this to Jack.
Yeah, and like their first time talking to
Yeah,
each other.
Yeah. But in the show, he seems like kind of chill. Seems like a normal person. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
He has like a reason to be kind of upset.
No,
and
yeah. I don't.
curmudgeon-y in the book.
If
because,
my boss was Ullman.
yeah. Well, not only that, his family used to own the hotel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And then Ullman is in charge of the hotel.
Yes,
He
yeah.
just beefs with Ullman heavy.
His-
Well,
like-
everyone does. Apparently, everyone hates him in that
Everybody
hotel.
in the book has like, honestly, too much backstory. They all have so much.
We know
back-
everything about
Yes.
everyone.
and it's
Mhm.
just like not that necessary in the miniseries and the movie. But there's just Stephen King was like, no, this guy has a name. I need to flesh out why he's like this, his past, his whole family's past. It's like, why, dog? You don't need all this. But it is
That's
interesting.
what I'm saying.
Some of it could be
Some
cut.
of it
See,
could be
you
cut.
both are just not nosy enough. I loved learning everything about everybody.
Okay.
I did too, but
I wanna
it's probably
know.
not necessary.
Like, when are we gonna ever need to know about Watson? when is he going to come up
Right
again?
now. Right now on this podcast.
Right now, you're so
No.
right.
It is crazy though. His family used to own the hotel, and
Yeah.
now he runs the boiler room.
Yeah. He's
Oh.
like a janitor. That's
No wonder he's a hater.
This is a story about class.
So
It kinda
right.
is, actually.
It is, yeah.
the class that Jack teaches.
Oh my god.
Anyways, you can cut that.
No,
Cut that out.
no.
You can cut that,
You're
please.
gonna have to live with that
Yeah,
now
cut that, please.
forever on the internet. So I guess Halloran, he did have something to do. He gave them a tour of the hotel instead of Ullman. So that's what he
True.
did. He showed them the elevator, showed them the presidential suite. I stand Halloran from the movie more so than this show.
I stand Halloran all the way everywhere.
He's great.
I think he's
Everything
a great character.
everywhere
all
all
at
at
once.
once.
Some have said. Some will say.
We're covering that next week. Yeah, Halloran is delightful. Honestly, I remember when we watched the movie, I thought they were going to cut most of Halloran's stuff out. Because,
It's kind of impossible though.
yeah, but like, I figured, because I'd seen so much of the movie, like so much cultural osmosis had happened that I'd seen so much of it, and I had never once seen any scene with Halloran in it from the movie. So I just
Mhm.
assumed like, oh, they might have cut him.
But how
no, he
else?
is.
But
He's
you
a-
have to learn about Danny's shining from somebody that isn't
Yeah.
Danny in order to understand it. So he's kind of essential in every iteration of it because otherwise, like like people do tend to leave it out.
Mhm.
But if I were adapting this, I would have no way to tell this story without Halloran.
All right, so that was episode 1. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about in episode 1?
One moment. Can I talk about the hotel now? Just because we're like in the beginning still.
Yeah.
Sure.
I thought that this hotel really hammers it. This is a kind of a stupid point, but the Overlook in the book almost becomes like the Overlook TM, and I thought seeing the Overlook in the miniseries is like, oh, this is a hotel. You know, it makes sense why Danny can't go in the rooms. He shouldn't be in those rooms. There's way too many. He's a child. You
Oh,
know, like you understand why on not just in the level of the story why Danny can't go in whatever room, which is going to happen in like the next episode. I'm pretty sure. But also just on the level of like seeing the hotel, seeing it look like a hotel and not like a resort necessarily, and not like this like castle, but just seeing it look like, oh, of course he can't steal a key and go in a room. Why
Yeah.
would he be allowed to do that? Because it's a hotel.
Yeah.
So actually like seeing this setting, I thought grounded the miniseries in a way that other versions do in a very different way, which it's just a creative choice, obviously, because like if you want the Overlook to be this magical entity, then like of course that's great. But if you want it to look like a hotel, make sense as a hotel, like understand like, you know, the like parking lot and where that is in relationship
It's
to
like a
it.
tiny-ass little
It's
parking
like,
lot.
you know, if you want to understand like, oh, like people are in the front playing Rogue and like seeing it look like a hotel, I think that's something in the first episode that grounds the miniseries in like, this is literally just a story about a haunted hotel.
You could tell like that they were actually filming in the Stanley Hotel
Yes.
based on like they were kind of limited on the shot types they could do. Like I'm thinking of scenes in the near the pantry where it's like kind of cramped and so the camera's super close.
This is a
The
very-
kitchen is tinier.
Yes.
The pantry looks like a normal pantry.
This
like
is a very, very different phenomenon in the movie, and we
Yeah.
can talk about that
Yeah.
there. But for now, this is a hotel.
Yeah.
This takes place in a hotel. They shot it in a hotel, and you can
Even
can
the-
notice.
You can tell.
You can. I was
can
trying
tell.
not to say
tell
that.
it's a hotel.
It's a hotel.
even the Colorado lounge. Colorado
the
lounge.
Colorado Lounge.
is
Gee, wait.
tinier. Like
Yes.
I was like, because in my mind I'm imagining the movie. Unfortunately, I'm imagining this big, huge room, but in the miniseries it's just small. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
'cause
oh,
it's
so
a
that's
hotel.
what
It's just a
Stephen
little bar.
King was imagining.
Well, yeah,
when
and
writing.
it makes sense because it's like it really like yes, it is this huge story, but it's a story about a family in a hotel.
At the end of the day,
At the end of the day,
Isn't that life?
are we all just families in a hotel?
Yeah.
But I think that came across
We're
very
all
well.
gonna
in
have to
episode
check
one.
out eventually.
damn,
Wow,
that's
wow.
deep. Episode 2. This episode starts us off at an AA meeting. So we actually get to see Mr. Jack Torrance
Ooh.
at an AA meeting.
My Plex screening glitched, and I had to watch that scene like 5 times.
Oh, no.
It's just like AA meeting, AA meeting, AA meeting. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, as we established already, he doesn't go to any AA meetings. And what's interesting is that one of the things he was kind of worried about in this miniseries is like not being able to call his sponsor, not being able to go to any AA meetings once the snow falls. So that's one of the things Wendy was mentioning to Ullman, I believe. She was saying, oh, he's going to call in on the telephone, but when that stops working, he's going to call in through the radio. So like they had a plan. They were trying to work through it together, which I kind of liked that. I thought that was interesting. Maybe I'm trying to latch on to things, but I liked it.
You're allowed to like things.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm not.
You can say that. That's what
I
this
must
podcast is.
hate everything. Another difference. Well, can't remember if it's a difference. It must be because I wrote it down. So Wendy is actually pretty chill and cool with Danny's abilities in the show.
Oh,
Like from the jump.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I'm really glad you brought that up. She loves her son and she believes her son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can see the future.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He's her son.
And I feel like that acceptance takes longer. She's more willing to accept him in the book than Jack is.
Yes.
But it still takes her a while to get there.
Yeah.
And I think it's with her, that conversation where the doctor tells her, oh, he was talking about your sister that died in a crash.
Yes.
Right. Then that's what tips her off.
Stephen King has some interesting things to say about Wendy, which I disagree with. I remember reading that he imagined Wendy as an ex-popular girl that has never had any problems until now. And I'm like, that's not the character you wrote. You wrote her as having trauma and
Yeah.
bad experiences with her mom and her sister getting in a crash and dying. Like, what do you mean she's never had any problems before?
He said that about Wendy?
Yes. I'm
When
like,
did
do
he
you
say
not
that?
even know your own character? I don't know when he said it,
No.
but I'm just like, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's such an interesting interpretation. I have not gotten that from reading it twice.
No.
Watching the movie many times and now watching the miniseries. I would never think that.
Yeah, I'm trying to even like justify that take on Wendy.
I mean, she's very pretty. She's a beautiful
Yeah,
actress.
she's described as like very pretty. She's like a blonde.
Yeah,
I guess
she's
that can kind of
blonde.
add into it, but like,
Mm-hmm.
no, she very clear. Like it's stated multiple times. She has a lot of issues with like her mom. How she was raised. Her dad wasn't
Not
like
that popular girls can't have issues with their mom, but it seems like the focus of her character would like we never learn anything good about her life.
No.
the phrasing of like a popular girl that's never had anything like bad, or was it that never had to deal with anything like really?
Yeah, until this moment at the Overlook.
That's what
Hotel.
Jack seems to think about her, though, right?
Yeah, I
Jack
feel like we
seems
get
to
something
kind of be
that.
like, oh, like
Mm.
no, he doesn't though,
I don't
because
think
he's
so.
he still pokes at her about her mom and her difficult relationship with her parents, and
I guess maybe if you're a real douche, you could perceive that as not a real issue. That you have like
she
issues
has
with
like
your
major issues
mom.
with her parents.
Yeah.
Her mom like kicked her out. This
Yeah.
is wild.
Yeah.
Wendy
I guess
slander.
if you're a real like piece of shit, you could be like, that's not even a real issue. You didn't really go through it. You just argue with your mom sometimes. I
Yeah.
guess that could be. What do you mean? That's messed up though.
And another thing is that once she gets pregnant with Danny, she gives up her career. She was going to college, right?
Mhm.
She gives up everything to be a housewife. I'm like, she gives up so much of herself for that.
Mm.
Like, that's also like a really tough time. Like, that's, I don't know. That's my nightmare.
She's
but
also
anyway.
married to Jack.
Yeah. Yes.
True.
who's abusive and an alcoholic.
Mhm.
So it kind of seems like maybe she has had some struggles.
Yes.
Well, her parents are split up also.
Yes.
Right? I believe
Yes.
so.
Believe
Yeah.
her. I don't remember.
Because she doesn't see her dad.
Her
as
dad
much.
her dad comes to the wedding and her mom doesn't.
Yes.
She has a whole history with like issues with her parents.
Yeah. She likes her dad more than her mom, but she doesn't see her dad as much.
Well, her dad died like right after the wedding.
Yes. There's a lot of like things from the past coming back to like reverberate into your present. That it's like a big theme that I got from this book.
Yes.
And that also carries through with Wendy. Her issues with her mom seem to like, she's constantly trying to like not let that resurface in a relationship with her son and with Jack.
Yeah.
And she's constantly like second guessing her feelings about like being off put by Jack by being like, well, no, this is what my mom would think. But
Yeah.
my dad. So I'm sure he's fine. I'm overthinking it. I'm overreacting just like my mom would. And that's
Yeah.
like a lot of what happens. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a very
It's-
odd statement.
It's so it is
Mhm.
very interesting also because like between Jack and Wendy and Danny, as I'm the hotel, right?
Mm.
And if I want to prey on somebody, Very obviously, Jack is the weakest link because he has a physical weakness. He is physically unable to stay away from alcohol when it's in front of him. Wendy is the hardest to corrupt, and she isn't in the story because her
No, not at
weaknesses
all.
are all like insecurities about parenthood and her parents. It's all very internal. That doesn't manifest in any way that the hotel is able to prey on. So she's like, because of her struggles that she definitely has, that's what separates her from her husband and her son. That's just such an interesting take
Yeah.
on his end.
Moving on to another difference. Jack destroys the radio with a mallet in the show instead of using his hands and throwing it on the ground and breaking it.
They love the mallet in the miniseries.
They use it
Yeah, they
a
love it.
lot.
They
I
love it.
forgot it. I had a croquet set. I was going to bring a mallet. Dang it. I never use it. That's the one thing I could use it for. We mentioned this earlier that Jack lied and said that Danny broke the radio instead of telling Wendy the truth like he does in the book. He blames Danny for this.
Which seems like a silly move.
yeah.
What was she gonna do? Like, I'm gonna kill my son. Like, what does he think is gonna happen here? Like, even if Wendy believed him, she'd be like, Danny, like, why'd you do that? Like,
Danny.
Well, he's trying to paint him as a troublemaker because he also tries to convince Wendy that Danny broke the snowmobile.
right. Which is an insane.
Does he do that? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Does he say that?
He says that Danny did all these things, so I'm like,
Danny,
why?
Danny is Jack's Tony.
Oh.
He's like, Danny did it.
You're so right.
I don't know who did that. It must have been Danny. She's like our 5-year-old son. He's
Our
like,
little child
Yeah.
broke the snowmobile.
yeah.
Okay.
He broke his own arm
Probably.
for playing with my
It was his own
neighbors.
fault. He was playing with the paper.
Domestic violence is not funny. Is
No.
it domestic if it's a son?
Yeah.
Does domestic refer to the family usually?
Yeah.
Your domicile.
Watch
Yeah.
It Ends With Us with Blake Lively. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
So that's all the differences I had in episode 2. There wasn't a lot from episode 2 that I cared about.
Yeah.
Do y'all have anything you want to talk about
In episode
2? Yeah. Oh, Jack is doing work, actually. He's
Oh,
actually
yeah.
doing the work and cleaning and
Oh, yeah.
checking the boiler and doing the whole
He's doing his chores.
the wasp thing. Unlike
yeah?
in the movie.
The wasp thing.
Oh, the
Like-
wasp thing. We didn't even talk about
We
the
haven't
wasp
talked about
Because
scene.
the
that was
wasps.
exactly the same.
We don't need to talk about the wasps. It's really more of an omen than it is anything.
Yeah.
Listen,
But
Are
I
they
found
ghost
it
wasps?
interesting. Are they ghost
I thought they were ghost wasps.
that one confused me. Because either they're ghost wasps or the hotel made wasps. Like real wasps.
I think they're ghost
Yeah.
wasps.
I don't
But they
get
can
it.
but they can obviously sting Danny.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
really stung
Because
him.
because the hotel can hurt him.
True.
I think they're ghost wasps.
It's
I think the bug bomb worked.
yeah. I don't know. It is bizarre. It's
Tell us
bizarre.
in the comments, did the bug bomb work?
Should he sue the company?
Should he sue the company with those
That's like
Polaroids?
a real plot line that like takes up a significant amount of time.
Is he
not
gonna
a lot,
sue? Yeah.
but like enough to be like, I'm deciding whether or not I should sue this company for this damn bug spray, bug bomb that should have killed these wasps.
Well,
And he,
it
like,
does
calls
show the
his lawyer.
change.
Doesn't he call
Yeah.
him?
His lawyers is like, you have nothing.
You don't have a
to-
case here, man.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a really hard
like-
case to fight, dog.
And well, it's funny. It does show the transition though in Jack's character. He starts out, he's gonna sue because they stung his son,
Yeah.
and then he ends trying to swing a mallet at his son.
Yeah,
So it does show a little bit of character evolution.
I guess. Yeah.
True.
I don't
Sure.
think. I think there's other places of character evolution.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
I brought up him doing work because it's funny in the movie that he's never seen doing any work around the hotel.
Yeah.
It's Wendy who's like checking the boilers and like doing everything.
He
So
literally
yeah.
never does a single thing of work.
No,
I think,
literally.
in the movie.
yeah,
Anytime he's on screen, he's throwing a ball.
yeah.
He throws a ball.
Yeah.
I think in 2 separate scenes. He's
Yeah, he
throwing
loves
a
that
ball
thing.
Mhm.
at separate places in the hotel. He's never working.
So okay, wait. Is Danny's snow song in episode 2? He starts singing in the snow.
With the
You guys didn't write
Bushes?
this down. This is one of my
I
notes.
did not
Danny's
write about
snow
the
song
snow
is.
song.
We need to go back and watch for the snow song. He sings. He has a little song in his heart.
does he?
Yeah, and he sings. In
Is
the
it when he's
snow.
like making his little fort?
He's like, snow's cold.
Nice.
I don't remember how it goes.
Uh,
It was a while ago, but anyway, that's all I had. I wrote down like snow song
Snow
for
song.
episode 2.
he does sing in the book. He's always singing what Skips My Lou in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. He does have a little song in his heart.
He does have a little song in his heart, and he's got Tony in his heart.
Yeah. Okay, we can move on to episode 3.
Let's not talk about this.
I will say, I really enjoyed watching, like I mentioned, I enjoyed watching the first episode because it was fun, like pointing out, like, oh, the wasp, oh, the hose, like the different things from the book.
Yes.
Like
The fire
seeing
hose.
them play out on screen was really, it was fun. It was a fun time. But it also showed how unscary the book is and kind of silly things are. Like, oh, the topiary animals, they're tiny.
They are small.
They're very small.
They're just. You know what though? I did think that they were effective in the book because when they talk about like claws
Yeah.
and like scratching, I did think I could visualize that in the miniseries because they
They
are
look
so small.
cute.
It's like, give me my shears. Like,
Yeah.
I do appreciate in the miniseries though, they do a cool thing visually when they do. I think it's the scene with Jack when Jack starts to trip out about the topiaries. They give them no. It's the scene later with Danny when he's in the snow. They give him like fangs made of ice, like little icicles, and I thought that was cute.
That was cool.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a nice little visual thing.
that's what I'm saying. They have some stuff going on.
Yeah, they do a little bit of something in the miniseries.
So, a difference for this Danny goes out into the snow, and it plays out differently in the miniseries than it does in the book. In the book, Danny is like stuck in these cement rings ? And this dead kid
hold
reaches
on.
for
Before we get
him.
into this, me and Tessa had this discussion.
Yeah.
What the hell is Stephen King talking about? Do you remember this scene?
Where he feels like something's behind him
Yes.
and like grabs
And he's
him.
like trapped.
in
but, like,
your just for reference, in your mind, what are you what is happening in that scene? Can you even envision what is being described?
You know, it's funny that you say that because I did have a very hard time visualizing it when I was listening to the audiobook and when I was reading it the first time. If it were me, I would say he's in the playground in one of those tubes
Yeah.
and that's covered in snow. And then he feels like
Yeah.
something's behind him. But I don't believe that that's how he describes it.
No.
And that's not what happens in the miniseries.
This is like not important at all, and it's just a thing for me because
but I wanted to see it.
Yes, because I found this scene very confusing in the book. Danny is like described as being in a tunnel.
Yeah.
Made
Of snow.
Of snow?
Right.
And also in a concrete ring?
Right.
I
I
don't know what
think
that-
it's meant to be one of those tubes that's now plastic, but probably in the 70s.
It's a very bizarrely described scene. And then there's like a thing that's like creeping up on him from behind him in the tunnel.
Yes.
And then he gets attacked by the topiaries. But the whole scene prior to that, I was like just very lost because I was like, I can't envision what is happening in this. Like the physical space.
I
can't
get it.
imagine.
Well, it's
what's
weird
happening.
that he can't see behind him if he's in a tunnel. And if he
Yes.
could see behind him, wouldn't he be able to see what's chasing him?
Yeah.
Because he can't.
No.
He just kind of feels what it is.
And I don't understand what Stephen King meant by concrete ring. What is he? I imagine like a concrete tube, but no, is it a ring? Anyways, the point is, when we got to the miniseries, we were like really hoping, like, oh, we're gonna finally understand what the hell Stephen King was talking about, and then it's just not there.
It's not in it,
doesn't happen. And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah. Basically, in the miniseries, Danny is just playing in the snow, and the little topiary animals are creeping up behind him. And Wendy is watching this. So she's actually, unlike in the book, she actually sees the topiary animals move. Meanwhile, in the book, just Jack and Danny have that experience, and Ullman. Wendy never sees them move, but she does in the miniseries. She's freaking out because they're going after Danny, and Danny isn't even noticing. But she's trapped in Ullman's office and is trying to break out, which again, doesn't happen in the book. It's just an added scene for the movie. So it shows that she's actually
miniseries.
active. She's an active parent. And she's seeing these things. They aren't just imaginations
Wendy's
in
very active.
Jack's head.
Yeah.
She's actually also witnessing these things too. So that was that played out. That was the very beginning of episode 3. Played out very differently than in the book. This is not it's different because in the movie, this guy is not here. But my boy Dogman, aka Roger, is in the
Since we're-
miniseries.
yes.
He is in the movie.
No,
by
he is
the way,
in the movie.
Yes, he is, but he's only there briefly.
for like
Nobody
3
knows.
seconds.
You wouldn't know
Yeah.
his backstory had
honest-
you not read the book
Yes. And that's one
or
of
the mini.
the
I guess if you watch the miniseries,
because
you
like
also
every
won't know.
character in the book, they have
has
a
the
backstory.
backstory. That's literally that character is one of the reasons why I liked the book is because I saw it in the movie. I never understood what that scene was. I read the book. I was like, it makes so much sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, it is, while we're talking about the miniseries, since it is made for television, right? They did not include the line about how he's going to eat Danny.
Yeah, probably for the best.
I agree.
Yeah.
Good move.
Good
Good move. Respect.
Good old Stephen King.
Didn't like that. Didn't like that in the book.
No,
Respectfully.
especially because
made me
he's the
uncomfortable.
only gay character.
Yeah.
Besides, Henry Durant is described as ACDC in the
I had to
book.
look up what that meant.
It's really
Love
funny.
that.
That is no, but that's actually what that's actually what they used to say, right?
Really?
Yeah,
Was it
I
really?
looked it up. They said that this is like an actual phrase, like ACDC means bi, and then
Did this predate the band AC/DC, and they were literally
Yes,
just
it
referring to the
predates.
electric currents and how they interact? Because that would be. Cool.
I don't know
get
if
that.
that's why, but I will literally fact check this right now because I looked it up when I was listening to it, and I was like, what?
Anyway,
It's
for
not
those
just for the movie. It's not just for the book. It's like a real
okay,
thing.
it made sense in the context of the book too. Yeah, that's also one of the things I liked about the book is like, oh, we get to learn more about this thing that's briefly shown in the movie. Roger, aka the dog guy, the dog
Dog
man.
man.
He is a lover of Henry Derwent and
Yes.
a pedophile question mark? Not even a question mark. It's
No, yeah,
yeah, he was a pedophile.
which is
Ooh,
a little.
little king flair for you.
It's a little
That little King Spice. He likes
it's
to
a
throw
little
on his lips.
outdated and highly offensive.
Yeah.
All right, moving on from Dogman. I was very excited to see him. We
We all love Dog Man.
We love Dogman.
We love
Despite
Dog Man.
everything
Number one
we've just
Dogman
said,
fans.
Yeah, we love Dog Man.
we
here
love
in this house.
Dogman.
Yeah.
Could do no wrong.
Well, he has a very scary image. Anyway, let's move on past
I-
Dogman. Please.
Okay. So in the book, Jack tries to win the favor of the ghost to join the quote unquote management. Meanwhile, in the show, he has no reason to really kill Wendy and Danny. The hotel is still influencing him, but it doesn't explain what the end goal is as
Yeah.
much. It doesn't explain like, oh, we're trying to have you join management, or we want Danny to join management, and he has like weird jealousy over Danny joining management and not him. That's a whole conflict that happens in the book, but not in the show.
True. They
Yeah.
do not flesh that out.
Yeah.
Do you think
Which
they
is
need
fine.
to?
No.
Wow, that was really quick.
It's just like we have so much other conflict and internal baggage for this guy.
Yeah.
Did we really need that?
It's just in the book. It's just like the angle that the hotel like takes to kind of get him invested, but like clearly it's just mind controlling him at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
they're
just-
feeding him liquor
Yeah,
and being like,
they're getting him drunk, and the whole book he's been worried about the fact that he lost his job and he can't provide for his family. So this
Right.
caretaker gig is like really, really important. So the hotel is like feeding him the line of like, if you do this thing, we'll like give
You'll
you
be
a
secure
promotion and a
forever.
raise. You'll
Yeah.
have a stable job. You'll be like a real man. You'll finally be able to take care of things. And it's like all
Right.
that. That's like the angle they hit him with in the book.
Mhm.
They don't really need it. If it's just like a fun way to do like mind control, I guess. It's
Yeah.
just fun flavor. Yeah, it's not super necessary.
This was disappointing. We didn't get to see Halloran get beat up by the topiary animals. I
No.
was so sad.
that's a great point.
The topiary animals
They don't
were
really do
just
anything.
teased the
Wait,
entire show.
Before we talk about Halloran arriving,
Yeah.
can we talk about the party?
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
sure.
About?
Underwhelming.
Mm.
What did you guys think of the party?
Yeah.
I thought I was honestly a little surprised. I thought it looked a little kitschy. I always expected it to be a little more grand.
Yeah.
For
true.
him to be enticed into wanting to stay forever. It was, and we get our Stephen King cameo in this party.
That I didn't notice. But
Yeah, I did.
he's
I didn't
there.
realize. I did think it's funny because when I was watching, I was like, that person looks interesting. Like I did like clock that was a person.
Mhm.
You know, though, like when you see someone, you're like, oh, okay. That's, and I didn't realize that was Stephen King.
I think that's something the movie does a little better is like capturing the like, whoa, like spectacle of what this place should feel like, at least how it felt to me, like listening to it and reading it. But yeah, it's a little more reserved in the miniseries, a little smaller.
It's just a little party. There's not even that many guests. There's like 20.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
They're just vibing.
The casting of Horace I thought was lovely.
I did like him. He was
Yeah,
was
I
a
thought he was
fun-looking
great.
guy.
Okay.
I thought he was very scary. And the dog mask didn't help when he put it on, and then when he gave it to Roger, and then, all right.
It was used so much, interestingly enough.
I think because they knew it was scary, and they used it, because, like, it's resting at one point just next to a bottle of Jack's whiskey. I was thinking of, like, it is Jack Daniels, but it's also Jack's
Whoa, dude.
whiskey. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh,
Anyway, so Halloran arrives.
Yeah.
He leaves Miami.
He leaves his wonderful little vacation in Miami. He's not even on
And it's
vacation.
so
I think
They, like,
quick.
film him getting to the airport. They're like, Miami International Airport. He's hitting the gas.
Yeah.
He's leaving the keys.
Hmm.
He gets on his plane. He misses the flight. He gets on another flight. It's crazy. They like
all
amp
this
up
stuff
the
is
drama.
described in excruciating detail in the books. By the
Yeah.
Oh,
way.
God.
It's a lot.
So he arrives
Tessa
against all
hates
odds.
that section.
I
of the book.
hate it so. Do we really need to know that the flights, the times he gets on the plane? Do we need to know every person he talked to, every person who had the shine that he met?
Right, because he does say that he thinks, doesn't he? I forget who he says.
The
has
girl
shine.
the girl who's been flirting with him on the plane, who's reading.
That's right. He has a whole encounter with a woman on the plane.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the plane. It might
Almost like crashes.
crash.
The
Yeah.
plane, will it crash? It doesn't.
It doesn't crash.
He almost falls off the side of the mountain. He doesn't.
He doesn't.
He makes it to the Overlook.
just
He's
to get
attacked.
eat,
And then he
just to get
dies.
hit
He
with
gets
the
hit with a
mallet?
hammer. No, he's not. He's alive.
No, he's alive. No, yeah. So in the book, he's attacked by hedge animals on the way in, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Whoa."
He gets fucked up by the hedge.
That was
animals.
cool. That was a part that was actually creepy.
Yeah.
I liked
Yeah,
it.
super scary because they're like the Guardians. I can totally visualize that, and it's interesting that for the visual medium, they didn't do that.
No,
Mm.
they're just teased the entire time.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Because they get
Yeah.
teased throughout the whole book that they like kind of move, and it's like, oh,
And it's like,
are they
wait, did
moving?
they?
Yeah,
Did they move?
Are they moving?
They
and then
move when
when
you don't
Halloran
look.
shows up, they just beat his ass. They don't even
They
they don't even
tear
do like
him
a little
apart.
like sneaky bit. He like drives up, and I think one of them literally flips the snowmobile
Yeah.
and like throws him. It doesn't even like they don't even mess around. It was,
Yeah,
it
they're
was
like,
a cool little,
goodbye.
like a little reveal. It was a fun little bit that
Yeah.
happens in the book.
Mhm.
It's interesting that the miniseries didn't. Of all the things that they were married to, they didn't keep the hedge animals as the guardians of the Overlook to attack Halloran.
Halloran.
To attack-
Colorado Lounge.
to attack Halloran. Crazy. But in the miniseries, he just walks in.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of going towards the end here. A big difference is that in the miniseries, Jack purposely lets the boiler blow up to destroy the hotel and sacrifice
Yes.
himself.
Right.
Meanwhile, in the book, going back to the book, Danny is like convincing him. He's like getting into his head. He's bringing Jack back to normal a little bit. And Jack is like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then crushes his face with a mallet, which I thought was so cool in the book. But he doesn't let the boiler explode on purpose, unlike in the miniseries.
Well, but he thinks about it in the book. Before all of the chaos goes down, he goes down to the boiler to dump it one last time
Yes.
before he goes to the bar.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh, this could all be over. I could just give, that's how we find out about the life insurance. I could just give them the life insurance and all of this would be over. And he's like, no, I'm going to do my job. And he dumps the boiler.
Mhm.
That's the last time he dumps the boiler before it goes on for too long.
And he gets stuck in the pantry for
Yeah.
a while, and then
Yeah.
Over.
And then he gets stuck in the pantry for too long.
Yeah.
So it is an accident, but he does have the thought in the book. And I think that's what they pull from in the miniseries.
it's before like the Overlook has
Okay.
full like control over.
Yeah,
him.
he still has a moment where he's thinking about his family and self-sacrificing.
But at the very end, no, he doesn't. He rushes down there because at that point, Jack is like fully dead. Because that's when he like slams himself with a hammer and he's dead, and it's just like the Overlook puppeting him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he runs down to the boiler, and it's too late. He like tries to stop it, but it's too late. It just explodes.
Mm,
But yeah, in the miniseries, they give him a little kind of hero moment at the end,
yeah.
like a little mini redemption.
Yes,
where he like
it's true.
decides not to dump the boiler.
But don't you worry. That's not the end of the miniseries.
No.
no,
We have a completely different epilogue.
Yeah.
Than
Yeah.
what is in the book.
I didn't get into it in the synopsis, but both the book and the miniseries have a little epilogue after they leave the hotel.
Yes.
They are different.
What happens to them?
In the book, it shows Wendy and Danny at Halloran's summer job or his next job. He's working at like a cabin resort camping place. So they're staying in a cabin. They're all the three of them are chatting. Do you guys remember what else happened in that epilogue.
Well, there's first of all, insurance money. I think Danny is like fishing down by the lake, and Halloran
Yes.
goes over to talk to him, and that's the end. It's kind of happily ever after, isn't it?
yeah.
It's bittersweet. Him and Halloran have a conversation about how Danny still misses his dad and all the shit that happened, and Halloran just kind of reassures him, like, listen, like it's gonna be rough for a little while, but you're gonna be okay. Eventually, you're gonna power through this. You got a good mom, and then he's
And
like,
Wendy's working on getting a job.
yeah, and he's like, and you got me. I'll be your friend for as long as I can. You
Yeah.
know, you always got me. And then it just kind of ends on a bittersweet note.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it ends in the book.
However, in the miniseries,
Yeah.
years later,
Yes.
Tony's graduating high school.
Yeah.
That's how we find out that Danny and Tony are the same person, is that we see this vision that Danny's been having of Tony the whole time is actually Danny when he's older.
Yeah.
And we know this because he's graduating high school and Halloran's there and Wendy's there watching.
Mm.
And he says, I love you guys.
He's like having this whole moment with his dad on.
Oh yeah, his
On
dad
the
appears,
stage, and
a
it's
ghost
like-
of his father.
Nobody can see you.
And he's just
see
pausing.
him.
Literally, like Wendy's like, what is he looking at?
So
And Halloran's like, don't worry
bizarre.
about it.
It's so funny. I think it's a cute idea. I prefer the miniseries epilogue.
It's
a little more.
creative.
I
Yeah,
like
I
it
agree.
a lot, but it is very funny because Danny, older Danny now, he like looks off into the crowd and he sees the ghost of Jack in the crowd, or like just standing on stage, right?
Yeah, on
Or
stage.
is he just like
He's floating.
like,
He's floating like Tony floats.
Yeah, he's just floating.
We
And he
all
like
float down
looks off
here.
into the distance for a bit and sees him. It's like, oh, it's this touching. Shut up. And it's like, no, this touching moment. And then Wendy literally is like, what's he looking at?
Yeah,
and they
literally.
acknowledge. They like kind of break the fourth wall almost, like, what is he looking at? And then Danny's like looking off at the crowd, and it's like, oh, that's weird. But then Danny proceeds to have a full conversation with Jack's ghost. And now I'm just thinking, what is everyone thinking of Danny up here? He's just like, Dad, I love you. You know, you're great, Dad. And then he's just out loud saying this, just looking off into the distance. I'm sure the crowd is
Well, I feel
very
like,
confused.
yeah, it's probably in his head
All right.
because he can do that.
Sure.
That's what we've established he's able to do.
He does say it
Is
with his mouth
converse.
out loud, but yeah, sure. We'll pretend it was just all in his head.
I think we have to. In order
Otherwise,
to
that
move
scene is
forward.
very funny.
Yeah.
He also
That's-
graduated at Stovington. It's a fun little Easter egg.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
So Stovington was Jack's previous employer, which is the high school that he beat up.
He beat
The
up George
dude at-
Hatfield.
Yeah, good old George
Um,
Hatfield.
So Danny graduated at Stovington, where his dad worked. And that is the end of episode 3 of the miniseries. I have to ask you guys, do you
Oh.
prefer the book or the miniseries?
You can go first this time.
Okay, yeah, I'll go book. That's because I have emotional attachment to the book, though. I personally was impressed with a lot of different pieces of the miniseries. And that's not to say that I think it's like better or like I'm not assessing quality here, but I'm surprised that this was the first time I'm hearing about it. I thought there were a lot of pieces with merit in it. I thought Wendy's performance, I forget the actress's name, sorry. No
Rebecca
disrespect.
De Mornay.
Rebecca De Mornay. I thought she did a great job. I'm surprised that it's not talked about more. However, I love that book. It's a comfort book for me. I don't agree
Wow.
that there's too many chapters, but again, I can see why somebody would say that. But I love every minute of it. So
Have you read the book multiple times?
yeah, this is my second time reading the book.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like you said comfort book. I thought it was something you reread.
No, well, I
regularly.
have reread certain chapters of it,
Okay.
yeah, but like taught like beginning to end only
Mhm.
twice.
Okay. I'm gonna agree. I like the book more than the miniseries. I thought the miniseries was a pretty solid and faithful adaptation of the book. Made some improvements, lacked some of the things that I think really made the book special.
Mm-hmm.
And so ultimately, I'm gonna go with the book on that one because I got more out of it. Had I watched the miniseries first, maybe my opinion would change, but I don't think so. I think the book has a little bit more meat to it, more stuff to really grab onto that
Yeah.
I enjoyed.
Definitely.
What about you, Tessa?
I agree with that. Definitely a lot of stuff in the book, like the characterization is a big one for me that neither the filmed versions can really get into because that's the nature of a book. You get their internal monologues.
Yeah.
Much better. I don't see myself revisiting either of these.
Really? Not the
I
book?
didn't like the book that much. I'm sorry.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I know. I'm sorry.
Weird take over here.
But I have to be the exception
Yeah.
because so many people that have followed Goodreads really like this book, 5 stars. So just me.
If Tessa and I agree on something, then something is wrong in the universe.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this versus that.
Oh boy.
This is gonna be a good one.
I got a few. Okay. So a couple of these are acting performance ones.
Okay.
So who you prefer in these
Oh,
roles?
boy.
Oh, okay.
So Jack Nicholson versus Steven Weber. And why?
Oh,
That's so mean.
yeah, because I do like
This
Steven
is-
Weber. Like I like
They're not gonna watch this.
That's okay. Like I will say with my full chest, even if they never see this or their family never sees this, that like there were moments I thought he did a really good job. I do think what you expressed about him and consistency is something that one can tell. However, what can I say? When I think Jack Torrance, I think Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
Well, they're both named Jack. I literally just realized that right now.
dude.
like
I'm not joking. It just hit me. As soon
I
as
believe you, actually.
Jackie boy.
Oops.
I love Jack Nicholson. I think he does an excellent job. And respectfully to Steven Weber, there's a reason when people do this kind of art, like he captures something that may not be what Steven intended, but is extremely impactful. So I have to say
Yes.
Jack Nicholson.
I would love to do a Halloween costume dressing up as the miniseries version.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Nobody would know. It's like, oh yeah, I'm
The Shining.
Wendy from The Shining.
That
Obviously.
one
Why are
per-
you blonde?
That one person who thought that the TV series was the Stanley Kubrick version would know
Yeah, be like,
exactly who you
What do you
are.
mean there's another version of The Shining? Just gaslight everyone who
What are you
asks.
talking about?
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm picking Jack Nicholson. That's so mean. It's such a mean comparison.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson is not at all what I imagined in my head listening to the book. But he is like phenomenal. He's so good. He's not the character I imagined, but he is the perfect character for that movie. And
Yeah.
there's a reason why that is referenced, and he is referenced so much. He's great. But what was the actor's name from
Steven Weber.
Steven Weber? I think he does a decent job. There's some line delivery issues. Like consistency is the issue, really. I think he does a pretty good job most of the time at being like a nice, loving dad. Kind of like the goofball aspect of Jack Torrance, which Jack Nicholson I feel like does not get at all.
No,
That
he's
is like
creepy
not
from the
at
jump.
all in the movie at all. So I think he nails that part. Some of the like more creepy, scary bits, I feel like his acting gets a little inconsistent, or when he gets really angry, sometimes he doesn't hit his lines quite as well. But still, overall, a good performance. But it's Jack Nicholson. Hey, come on.
I agree. I unfortunately have to go with Jack Nicholson as well.
I think we're all sad. We're all like, sorry.
Unfortunately,
I wanted to give a hot
Tessa
take.
did the setup of the century, and
Because, like, even in the book, when they mentioned him in the interview having his PR smile, I was imagining Jack Nicholson in that interview. It was like he has the creepy PR smile, the unnerving guy that you don't really trust.
And
which
then
I
it
can
slips into like a darker smile. And
Yeah.
they
like it's all surface level.
yes, yeah.
I can totally see why King was upset with Nicholson's performance. Not his performance, but the way they wrote the character. Because he is unsettling from the get, which we'll get into in next episode. But Steven Weber has those moments where he's actually a somewhat normal guy.
Yeah, he's a normal dude.
So he's definitely portraying the book version better. But neither version really hits the nail on the head for me
Really?
in terms of characterization for Jack Torrance. So I guess in terms of performance, Jack Nicholson. Okay. Another performance-based one. Shelley Duvall versus Rebecca De Mornay.
Oh, this is cruel because I have an emotional attachment to Shelley Duvall. So that sounds insane. But it's interesting because I do actually think the chemistry between Steven Weber and Rebecca, sorry, her last name again?
De Mornay.
De Mornay. I can tell that they're a married couple more than Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall.
100%.
But as if we're just assessing them individually, like, I don't know. When she's like screaming in the bathroom and, you know, and also just like she has such expressive eyes, also so sad when, you know, Jack like kicks her out of the study and stuff like that. Like,
Shelley Duvall?
Yes, Shelley Duvall.
Okay.
I feel like I have to go with Shelley, which is not to say that Rebecca wasn't very strong, because I do think that Rebecca was probably the strongest talent in the miniseries.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I love Shelley.
This is a rough one. This is actually tough for me to pick one that I think is objectively better.
Yeah. Well, maybe not better, but preference.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Rebecca De Mornay on this one. I think she nails Wendy as a character more. Because Shelley Duvall is not Wendy from the books.
No,
Like,
she's
not
No.
even a little bit. It's a whole
No.
other character.
Yeah.
That's just an OC. It's not, they're not even the same. It is not just the hair color. They don't act
Stanley
at all.
Kubrick OC
Yeah,
just dropped.
literally. Rebecca De Mornay is like the Wendy from the books pretty accurately.
Mhm.
Does a pretty good job. Is more active. Like you said, has way more chemistry. They
Yeah.
feel like a couple that's been together for a long time. I feel like her love for her son more. They give her a lot more like tender scenes with Danny to like talk to him and like, you know, interact. And yeah, I think I agree with you also. She is like the best actor in the miniseries. She kind of never has like a weak spot for me, the whole
Yeah.
miniseries. There are times when Danny or Jack or even Halloran will deliver a line. I'll be like, oh, you could have did a second take on that. But never with her. She's actually really solid throughout the whole thing. And Shelley Duvall's great, but I just don't think she nails the character as well. So I'm going to go with the miniseries version on this one.
Yeah.
Controversial take.
No, I also agree with that take.
Whoa.
I like
Whoa.
Rebecca better in terms of portraying the character.
Yeah.
Shelley Duvall did great with what she was given.
Yes.
Because what I meant to say at the very beginning was that the characters in the Kubrick version feel more like pawns
Mhm.
compared to the book where they feel fleshed out and are actual people. So Shelley Duvall feels like she was dropped into this hotel game and Stanley Kubrick just manipulated her.
Which is not exactly incorrect.
That's not incorrect. So she did great with what she was given, but she still doesn't feel like Wendy to me. And you guys both mentioned their relationship. I know we keep talking about the movie. I'm sorry. But in the movie, one of the things that bothered me was that there seems to be this, she's like trying so hard to like keep this relationship afloat, and Jack doesn't care anymore. He's over it. Like there's no love between them, which is scary. That's a scary element of the movie, but not accurate to the book. Shelley Duvall's version of the character just doesn't hit the same, I feel like, because their relationship has no love anymore compared to in the book and in this miniseries. Okay, we're done with character stuff. Fire hose versus wasps.
Wasp. Wait. What are we voting for?
What
Sorry. Are we voting for what's worse or what we
What
want?
what would you rather have to deal with?
Oh, fire hose.
The fire hose, dude.
Do you mean the
Ghost
creepy
wasps?
fire hose with teeth? You want to deal
It
with
only
that?
had teeth in the miniseries.
Just like
It's
that's what I want to do.
true.
Step on it.
in the book, Danny
Sorry
is
to our
literally just
listeners.
scared of a fire hose.
Yeah.
Kind
it
of
doesn't
Jack is a
even-
little bit too. Jack's, but he's like, did that move?
Oh yeah, he does.
He's like,
mention
oh.
that. That's it. They spend like a whole, I want to say like nearly a whole chapter with Danny being afraid of a fire hose.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And
Because
it's like,
he's trying to figure out if he can go down the stairs. Wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you be afraid of a fire
If
hose?
you were
Yeah.
5 with Shining.
it is like, does it happen? No, it happens the first time he visits 217.
Yeah, but he doesn't go inside.
Yes. And so he gets spooked by the fire hoses on the wall.
Yeah, no, fire hose all the way. Ghost wasps, are you kidding me? They just keep stinging you
Yeah,
for the
that's
rest of your
fucked up.
life?
Hell no.
It's
I'm
I'm not saying
with
for the
fire
rest of your life.
Well, they're immortal.
God, okay. Whatever. Fire hose, same. Yeah, let's move on. So this versus that was because we were originally gonna do the movie first, but we switched. So here's Johnny versus Boo.
Are you kidding? Look me in the eyes and ask me that question again.
Here's Johnny versus Boo.
Here's Johnny.
Listen, when he broke through that door and he said boo, I literally got chills.
Shut up.
Dude, my pupils dilated and I thought, oh my God, that's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Can you imagine someone's trying to kill you and they just make a television reference in the middle? Like,
Let mean, there is a reason why that has influence in pop culture and the other one does not.
Boo actually does have a lot of
Yeah,
problems.
everybody says boo all the time.
Okay,
It's super
But
culturally
it didn't
relevant.
originate from the Shining
How do you know?
miniseries.
How do you know?
Because it's been in culture longer than 1997. So that's where my this versus that's.
All right.
That's it.
Great. That's
Okay,
great.
Let's move on to the ending. We are done with the pod.
Oh my god.
Oh,
That was it.
Thanks for listening.
Join us in part 2 of our Shining miniseries where we look at the Stanley Kubrick film, which no one has ever talked about.
no one.
We're
has
the
talked
first
about this.
ones.
We found.
We
it.
just found this undercover gem.
Yeah. Uncut gem. We should do uncut gems. Oh my god.
Both horror and based on a book.
Dude.
Is it based on a book?
No,
Oh. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
it's based on Julia Fox.
Shout out Adam Sandler.
Shout out Julia Fox.
Shout out Kevin Garnett.
Anyway.
Anything is possible. That's a reference that no one will get who watches this podcast. All right, sorry.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Dreadful Digest Pod. And that's our episode.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye. Love you.
Thanks for listening.